Good afternoon. I'm Mary Eubanks, and I'm with Louisana Designs and Antiques. Thank you for coming to the first of the lecture series organized and presented by Antiques and Design Center and sponsored by VandMcom. I'm pleased to introduce Bill Indursky, entrepreneur, architect, designer, realist painter, and author of an upcoming scholarly book, Soren Emil Carlson, dated 1853 through 1932. Bill is co-founder of VandMcom, one of the world's largest high-end antique, home furnishings, art, and jewelry shopping sites on the web, with offices in New York, Los Angeles, and Argentina. VandM is a go-to online source for unique vintage furniture, antiques, art, and jewelry from dealers around the world. Over 125,000 clients visit the site monthly to find the perfect items, read design and art news, original stories, interviews, and more. Please welcome Bill Indursky.
So one of the great things about our website, and probably all websites, is that you can get statistics for things, every little thing you could ever imagine. And so we do give those statistics to our dealers to study and learn the trends in the industry. And while we look at all our statistics, we also do regular sort of traditional forecasting where we examine every shelter book imaginable. You know, we get like hundreds of them and have to look at all of them. And each month we put together design boards and inspiration boards throughout the entire office. And then we gather them all together, compare it to what we see is selling, and then make predictions. We usually make predictions about once a year, like big predictions, and then lots of little sub ones along the way. So this actually was written, believe it or not, already almost a year ago now, this lecture, because, again, we're a year out, a year ahead. So let's take a look. Yep. So my name is Bill Indursky. Lately I've been called Bill the Antique Guy, which is always so funny. My younger brother, growing up, couldn't really pronounce antique. He would call them antiques. Which I love. And then anytime I thought, oh, anti-Qs, it reminded me kind of a little bit of like Flo from, you know, like with a big letter Q, anti-Q. So there. So obviously, VandMcom, just making my marketing guy happy. This is what the website looks like now. Actually, it's going through a redesign. It's going to be white and bright and happy, because apparently our marketing guy said, we need bright, white, and happy. So there it is. But right now it's got over 15,000 items live that you can look at, as well as if you miss anything in this lecture, we kind of did a really cool visual summary of each major trend and picked the items that go with it online on our site. So you can always check it out there. Quick plug. Yes. Again, my marketing guy, he gets a little out of control, I think, late nights. Antique and Design Center and us, the lecture series. So it's me first, then antique furniture, what to know before you buy, right after, 3:30. And then tomorrow, we've got classic elements of modern design. Shane, who's actually one of the dealers on our side as well, he has an amazing curatorial eye. He's also a marketing business person. And then Barbara, she's social media and teaches you how to Twitter to your heart's content, this sort of thing. She's really great. So that's all coming up, so keep open for that. All right, so now let's get to the real stuff while we're here. 2011, the trend forecast. So one of the things I do every August is sit down and say, all right, is it evolution or revolution year? Anybody got a guess of what this year is 2011. Evolution or revolution? What do you think? You think revolution? I think evolution for this one. I think the big revolution was 2008, the economic downturn, or as like the news likes to call it, the economic meltdown. So that really did change and end a lot of people's buying habits and sort of the whole roll that we were on. So really a lot of things had changed, but really for 2011, I consider it an evolutionary year. Most trends in antiques and the home furnishing industry really kind of follow a 1 to 5 year sort of trend, not like you may see in fashion where it's like, oh, 3 months, and it's like a totally different thing. So really, when you're kind of tracking home trends, it's more like slow and steady wins the race. I mean, the good news is if you're decorating homes, you don't have to style it quick because it just takes so long. Partly because the manufacturers, they have certain processes. It takes a lot to sort of retool those things and move them quickly. So in general, the trends tend to be on average 5 years. So let's just talk about some of the major factors. I always think, I used to work in fashion for 10 years, and I would feel like, who's they? Why did they decide that, Queen Victoria in England is in? Well, it's not they necessarily. It's really dependent on these things, which are major cultural trends, politics, social, economic, and so we have quite a few factors recently that we're dealing with. Also reviewing the arts, sort of that reflects, and the visual arts play off each other. And then our own advanced statistical reporting. So that's really how these things evolve and develop, not from, oh, I like this day. So just to be careful there. All right, so let's talk about the 4 key trends that I see as I trip. So the 4 key trends: austere luxury, revisiting the early 1990s. We'll talk about that in depth. Sartorial servitude, the WPA for today. Artistic extension, artist as environmental designer. And then unfettered form, clean line traditional. So those are the 4. I don't know if it's like a forecasting thing, but there always seems to be 4. You figure 3 or 4. There's always tends to be 4. Now, predominantly though, there's 1 or 2 that are sort of the main trends that go throughout the culture. And then the others are more sort of ancillary or supportive and often determine the materials and palette color choices. So let's go through them. Let's start with austere luxury, revisiting the 1990s. Now I wrote it down a while back, and it sounded good, so I'm just going to reread that piece. Once supermodels ruled the world, eclipsing even the brightest celebrity. Calvin Klein was the style maker with clean line luxury American sportswear. After last year's dose of 1980s, it seems that the interior design stylistas have a hankering for the early 1990s. Decor is taking its cue from this era. Not as much about minimalism, this 90s manifestation is about clean line tradition, luxe details, tone on tone, and texture on texture. So let me just put that down. Let's take a closer look. So clean line, luxe details, tone on tone, texture on texture. Okay, so now why are we revisiting the 1990s? Other than we all seem to keep going in these cycles in the world. The 1990s, you had the crash of the big 80s when they had like a recession. I think they were trying to nicely call it, when everyone was kind of going spending crazy. The rise of models as a celebrity. So you had famous people, but then all of a sudden supermodels became the big thing. And then rise of the American luxe sportswear. So we were always known for sportswear, but now Calvin Klein came in and basically said, no, it's all about expensive sportswear that's elegant. And actually, if you think about Gwyneth Paltrow, what did she wear to the Oscars? Calvin Klein again, in sparkles, right? So today, we have the crash of basically 2000, so it mimics it. You have the rise of everyday people as celebrities. So instead of supermodels, which was sort of like the next, like you had to be a star, then it became supermodels, like you had to be pretty. So it wasn't just you were famous, now you were just, it's okay just to be pretty. Now it's okay just to be who you are, because we have the rise of everyday celebrities. Think of YouTube and Snooki, you know, think of any of them. American Lux, you know, everybody's got a reality show. I'm sure half of you do. So American Lux sportswear is back. If you notice in fashion, it's all going back to American sportswear. For a while, it was kind of doing some other things, and now it's kind of going right around. So 2 important colors for this year, camel and gray. I think if you picked up a Veranda magazine, you'd be like, oh yes, camel and gray again. So they especially were pushing it. It's slightly more southern than it has been in the north, but it's sort of prevalent. All right, here's just a sample interior. Notice, I mean, when you look at this, it seems like, oh, what's so great, what's so interesting? But I can only imagine the price tag on this thing. It's all custom, you can tell. Super high-end photography. I'm sure the photography alone is like 25 grand. The tailored look, but luxe. So it's understated luxury, and it's a very clean line. It's expensive, but you're not supposed to go, oh, that's expensive. It's more subtle. It's kind of not good work or good fashion to be like, I have money. You know, now it's like, oh, I think he has money. See, it's different now. Here's in fashion, very similar, right? Different textures, all camel, luxe. So visual texture, very important. Here you can see similar color palettes, and then it's all about visual texture. And I think if you go throughout all the showrooms here, especially the contemporary ones, you can see there's like every kind of texture pillow and visual texture. As you can see them through there. Oh, I have a pointer, here you go. And then even the wallpaper's made a big comeback in the last year or two, very quietly. I always know whenever you start to see everything on HGTV start to do it, you know it's sort of in the mass culture, depending on which of the people doing it, you know, is on. Definitely the more designy ones, you can kind of get a sense of, oh, what's about to come. And already everyone's starting to say, oh, you know, I like wallpaper. Why don't we use wallpaper again? And for years, I mean, the last 10 years, you mentioned the W word, and people are like, oh, no, you paint. Wallpaper you can't do. So you can see it's shifting back. The pendulum keeps going. Austerity